Hey guys, Steph here. Thank you so much for listening. I just wanted to do a quick intro for our next guest, Karlie Page. Karlie is a life coach, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about her story as it relates to DV, and then we're going to jump right into her professional background and how she chooses to help survivors today. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Karlie Page.
Welcome, Karlie. I want to get this kicked off the right way instead of jumping right in. Kind of want to get a little bit of background into you, who you are. Like you come from, you have a background in education, theater, coaching, like now clinical mental health as a life coach. How did how did all of these worlds just like
collide.
combine for you?
Yeah, I wish that I could tell you there was a clear-cut way to explain this, but I started out with a BA in theater and moved from that into wanting to direct. Then my high school course teacher on Facebook was like, didn't you win the British Literature Award in high school? And I was like, yes. She was like, become an English teacher and you can secure a job as a drama teacher. So I went that route. And so I got my master's in English and I taught high school English for 5 years. As I was doing that, I posted on TikTok a response to a guy's video that was like, nice guys always finish last. And I was like, sometimes nice guys are not nice guys, they're narcissists. And if someone has to tell you how nice they are, then they're probably not that nice. Most nice people don't go around talking about how nice they are. They just are. That blew up, and then I got a large following, and I was like, I don't want to be a fly-by-night life coach, though I like being a life coach rather than a therapist, but I wanted to get the background in education, so I pursued the Master of Arts in Clinical Mental, or Master of Science in Clinical Mental Health Counseling at Capella while teaching high school.
Wow.
And then I
Wow.
moved and used all the degrees at a nonprofit right after that and still kept going to school, and then I graduated, and then I've had this business the whole time.
Goodness.
Okay, so so your business is Red High Heels with a HEALS.
Yes, I love a good pun.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's pretty creative. Jen, you had something. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just wondering when you slept. When do you sleep? That sounds like a lot for many, many years.
Actually had I had so much energy at that
My
time. And it
goodness.
was like the more it was almost like the more I was doing, I guess I have ADHD. So the more things I had on my plate, the more organized
Me
I
too.
was.
There you go. Okay.
So
makes sense.
it was easier than you would think.
Makes sense.
Now, so you're doing all of this. You know, your theater background and English background. And somebody posts about nice guys on TikTok, and you're like, wait a minute, nice guys sometimes are narcissists. But like, how did you come to that conclusion? Like, what is your experience with narcissism in like real life?
I have quite the extensive background, unfortunately, with narcissism. There is some narcissism in my family, which I didn't find out until later after doing decades of research on my own, a little over a decade of research. I've been in several relationships that were narcissistic, and probably my response was a little bit of projection from that time, being like, oh, I know you, even though I didn't know that guy. I was like, oh, you seem like somebody I know in my life. And because I had been there with the seemingly, and multiple times at that point, with seemingly good guys, and especially if you put it all on paper, they looked great. And then got to know them a little bit deeper and was like, wow, all these great things that you said about yourself are not so true behind closed doors. And it seemed like somebody that I knew before. And so that's how I got the feisty little video about how they weren't so nice.
Wow. That makes sense.
All right. So that response just came from some past experiences.
Yes.
And you're okay. That makes total sense. I'm wondering. So we kind of hit on this in the pre-call where, I agree with you, nice guys, about nice guys potentially being narcissists. And I'm curious how somebody comes to you, like, let's just say me, for example. And I say, I'm a nice guy. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And, I nothing in my past, nothing bad, whatever. You have you've had a rough past with relationships. And I'm just curious and this is a general question even for other survivors too. Steph, I can ask the same question to you. Like she's gone through a thing where men are like right now.
Yes.
When
Not a fan
do
of men right
men
now.
in general get a second chance in your eyes? Like, what are the warning signs, or one of the things that you would tell a survivor if they were like they're healed, they're all good to go, and they think they're ready to step into that relationship again? Like, what are some of the things that you would advise them to be like, hey, that's great, good, you're moving on. Watch out for all this stuff like X, Y, and Z. I just wondering when the normal guy gets a chance.
I have like a follow-up that's really close to that. I think you can answer them both at the same time. I've been wondering how you tell the difference between a truly nice guy and a fake nice guy, a narcissist nice guy.
Right.
You know? So I'm sure, I mean, we gotta know the difference if we're gonna move on, right?
Right.
Right. I think from the kind of content that you could see if you just stumbled across one video of mine and you didn't go watch all of the others, you might be like, this woman hates men. And there's a lot of comments underneath there. They're like, oh, well, you just hate men and this and that. When a lot of my clients that I see are actually there because their mom's a narcissist, or they're dealing with a coworker who is, and there are women who are narcissistic too. And so it's not just like, I hate the nice guys or anything. And for me personally, I definitely deal with clients that are like, F men, or I don't want to date anymore and I don't want to get close to anyone. For me personally, I've always treated everybody that I dated like an individual. Now, in that video, maybe was a little triggered and like, oh, this seems like something I've heard recently. And I admit that I probably projected that experience onto that video, but when I was ready to date people, I treated them as individuals. And so I can't really speak to that experience of like hating men. I don't hate men. But as far as the nice guy and the narcissist part of that goes, everyone gets a first chance. You know, if I went on the date with you, that's the chance. I mean, like, I'm giving it a chance.
Right.
It's when I start noticing like some of the things are triggers, like saying that you're so nice. Like, I'm a nice guy, you know? It's kind of like, oh, I heard that little term. But it's just kind of like you clock that and then you're like, let's see if you really are. And you have to pay attention to the actions. And are the actions and words in alignment? And so what the narcissist does so well is pay attention to actions. And, you know, I've seen people say, I'm going to break up with him. This is the last time. And it's like, you said that before and you said that before. It wasn't the last time. And they paid attention and they know you're not going anywhere. So they watch your actions. And it's like, you as a survivor have to watch people's actions. And they can say they're nice, but are they acting nice?
Exactly.
Is what they're doing
right?
nice?
You have to watch
and
their
of course,
actions.
Yes. And people make mistakes. It's not going to be perfect.
Right, exactly. You look for that pattern, though, over a period of time. If they are constantly making the same mistakes, right, and their apologies, they don't mean anything because their behavior is not changing, then that's a problem. So you got to notice the pattern over time.
Yes. And I love the good cliche, like an apology without changed behavior is manipulation. Great 100%. Cliche. Same thing here.
Yeah. I feel like
exactly.
It's difficult though when some of these patterns are so they seem so minor at first, and maybe they're small and very like spread out, because I feel like I don't know, I guess I shouldn't say most of the time, but at least for me and what I've seen in other people, it was extremely frog in hot water. Like, you know, you're either so young that you don't know what you don't even know. And like for me, I started with my first husband when I was 20. And now looking back, I should have seen some red flags, but I was so young and had no experience whatsoever with any kind of narcissism, manipulation, anything like that given the same circumstances, I wouldn't have seen it. Again, you know what I mean? Even looking back, and that stuff just happened so slowly. that it's like hard to separate
Yeah.
the 1-offs or even like the 2 3-offs, that you should give grace about because nobody's perfect, and a destructive pattern. Like how do you help people like that? It's just like, I didn't see it because it was just happened so slowly.
I was in your same boat. I mean, I didn't recognize the patterns of narcissism and, well, cluster B personalities in general, and we don't have to go into that, but that already existed in my family. And so if you've grown up around those patterns, certainly, when you see them again, it's just like, in a subconscious way, this feels like home.
Mhm.
Like, this is normal. Some people
Yeah.
come from households that it was already normal in. And then what you're talking about too is like, I think there was a documentary that I watched. I think it's called The Social Dilemma.
Oh, I love that
Yes, we have
documentary.
watched
Yes.
that.
And so,
Mhm.
yes. And so it talks about how the media is manipulative.
Mhm.
And there's a quote from someone in it, and I can't quote him, but he said, it's a slow and imperceptible change.
Yes.
And that's
Mhm.
always stuck in my mind. I was like, this is just like narcissistic relationships, because I'm sitting there watching it with my students that are in high school. And I'm like, this is narcissism.
Yeah.
Like, this is like not the narcissistic social media, but it's manipulative. And narcissists, when they're good at it, it is a slow and imperceptible change. It doesn't work without that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work without some good.
Yeah.
So
You have to research it.
That's true.
Yeah.
do you feel like everyone has a little bit of narcissism in them?
You have to, or you have no backbone.
Okay, all right. That's good. I'm glad you said that, because I'm sitting here listening. I'm going, I know me. Like, I know I have a narcissism in me. I know this. Like, I do it on my wife all the time. The difference is my wife don't put up with it.
And you
And
don't
it's not,
mean
it's
it.
not a toxic relationship.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't feel the need to have control over her, or like watch everything she does and take her phone and read her texts and all that. Like, I don't feel I need that. But, I wanted to kind of just bring up that, I think everybody has a little bit of narcissism in there. And just because, like, I think it was one of the previous episodes we recorded, we were talking about warning signs and patterns, and how, abuse doesn't start with the fist, it starts with control. And, don't just take one warning sign and assume that your significant other is like a narcissistic, coercive control,
Abuser.
abusive person. It's a pattern. It's a pattern of these warning signs. So, okay, it makes me feel better that it's okay that I have a little narcissism in me. It's fine. As long as I'm not using it to try to
It's good
control.
to
Okay.
have a little narcissism in you.
Okay. Because we paint this picture like, I see it on, your TikToks and on Steph's, and, in the podcast when we did some previous episodes, it's like we paint this picture of the narcissist as this almost, and we try not to, almost this like horrible human being. Like, these people
monster.
are beneath dirt, right?
Yeah.
They're
not-
charming and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the outside, for sure, they are.
Yeah. So Steph, you had something to interject there.
Right. So I was wondering, when people come to you as a life coach, do they know what's happening to them mostly? Or do they come to you and they're like, X, Y, and Z is happening. Please help me make sense of it. Or do people come and they're like, this is narcissistic abuse. I need you to walk me through this.
Or I just feel crazy. Help.
Yeah.
Bring my
yeah.
sanity
Because I
back,
would just come up
please.
to you and be like, yes, that would be me. I'd be like, I don't know what help I need. These things are happening. I feel like I'm losing my mind.
There are various levels that people come to me. Some people come to me knowing all of this jargon and all of this narcissistic community language, and that works. And then there are some people that are like, is this abuse or is this narcissistic? And a lot of the times, sometimes I don't think it's narcissism, and sometimes I think it's some other personality disorder. But what does that matter? Because abuse is abuse. And
Right,
so I
exactly.
can walk them through basically the symptoms or the aftermath or the relationship things that are happening to them that are abusive, and talk to them about better ways of coping with those, or what they feel like they want to do from here. And most of the time, I mean, I've never seen a client that's just, am I crazy? Like, all of them say it.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah,
that's how
all of
I
them
would
say it.
feel. That's how I felt many times. I was like, I literally feel like I'm losing my mind.
Mhm.
Especially
Well, and I
with
was
the
acting like it too.
gaslighting.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it'll completely change your personality and make you into somebody that you're not. It's just absolutely wild, this kind of abuse.
Yes, and they come with various levels. I think I've seen every single client that you could have described, and all of them do ask if they're crazy, and all of them, I think, have the same hope that it's them, so that
Mhm.
they can fix it
Yeah.
and stay.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you can control
Have
what
you-
you do. You can't control what someone else does.
Right.
So if it's you, phew, I'm here. I'm wanting help.
I can fix the problem.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly. Have you ever had somebody who was narcissistic or had extremely high narcissistic tendencies come to you for help and you've discovered it? Like, tell us about that. How's that?
I've more so seen clients that have other cluster B traits, like people who would come across as maybe a borderline personality disorder with a narcissist. Um, which people with borderline personality disorder, it's in the same realm of personality disorders, and so a lot of the behavior can look the same, but the intent behind it and kind of the abandonment issues and the levels of empathy are different. I also see clients who know they are narcissistic and they come saying so.
Mm.
So normally, if I see a client that has narcissistic tendencies or they have cluster B tendencies, I can help them with those symptoms without saying, I think you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
probably
that
very
might turn
important.
them off in the certain scenario that they're in. If I can point out the abusive patterns of their partner and also show them how some of the patterns in their reactions or some of the things that they're doing align with those,
Yeah.
then that's how I go about that rather than being like, I think you're the narcissist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah, because you got to be so very careful, right?
But
Right.
I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
I was going to ask to just, you don't have to do it now. We can wait, but just to explain in a couple sentences what cluster B is, because you've said it a couple times
Yeah.
now, and I have no idea what that is.
Okay, so cluster B personality disorders, and I'm going to pull this up so that I can explain this in such a nice way. It's going to be histrionic personality disorder. It's going to be borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, which antisocial does not mean that these people are antisocial. It means that these people do not follow social normalities. They don't adhere to the social and societal standards all the time. So these are going to be your criminals and what people refer to as psychopaths and sociopaths. Antisocial. And it's like kind of an icky name for it because people are like, I'm antisocial. I'm like, you're an introvert.
Right.
Right, exactly. There's a difference.
You don't want to kill people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes, and
right.
so I'm pulling this up for you. It's these disorders are characterized by dramatic, emotional, and erratic behaviors, including traits such as impulsivity, attention seeking, and the lack of empathy. So, not to say that all of them don't have empathy, but that's those are your common things that you're going to look for
Okay.
with those personality disorders.
Perfect.
There's
Okay.
nuances with them, but yes.
That makes sense. So if we say cluster B again, we know what that is.
Right. And some people are dealing with people because everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't know if he's a sociopath or a narcissist. I'm like, a sociopath or a psychopath, which is antisocial personality disorder, all of them are narcissistic.
Yeah.
And you can be multiple and there can be overlap.
Yeah, I bet.
And
So where
Have
does
you ever worked with someone? Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Steph. Yeah, we're just all like, rah. I'm just
excited.
wondering, where or does bipolar and that kind of mental health struggle, illness, whatever it is, where does that kind of stuff fit in?
So bipolar is a mood disorder, whereas borderline personality disorder is a personality disorder. So personality disorders, there's going to be shifts in mood and stuff, but a lot of times you'll see people who have bipolar misdiagnosed as borderline and vice versa. And that's because a lot of the traits and symptoms seem to overlap. But a lot of the things that you have to identify is where this is coming from. And with the mood disorder, there might not be a trigger. You're just waking up one day and you're in a certain mood and there's no reason why. And in a personality disorder, there's going to be triggers that are inciting these shifts.
Yeah.
So something happens that makes a split versus I just woke up today and I feel very manic. Right?
Sure.
Right. So, I mean, and you're going to see some of the same symptoms and they're misdiagnosed by clinicians all the time. And then there's probably going to be another clinician being like, what the hell is this lady talking about? So
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it depends on who you hop in front of and what you're looking at.
Wow. It sounds like a maze, like a labyrinth of craziness that you gotta
It really
wade
does.
through.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why I'm like, I'd rather just treat the symptoms of all of these things rather than sitting here
Trying
and
to figure
wanting
it
to
out.
diagnose
Yeah.
every single thing.
Because
Yeah. And
Right.
people want a diagnosis right away. And I'm like, you need some time to see what is going
Yeah.
on, not one session.
yeah.
I could not do what you do.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
For
No.
sure. I
Do
would
you
get
ever
on a
see-
call. Yeah, go ahead, Steph.
Do you ever see couples together, or is it all individual?
See couples.
Oh my
How
goodness.
does that go?
I'm so interested in that. How does that play out when you have one abusive person and like, oh my goodness, now I have so many questions. Yeah, but like how is that for you working with couples where there's one abusive party and one non-abusive party?
Well, so the couples that I have worked with, because I was working as a pre-licensed therapist before. I was just like, you know what? I don't want to work under a governing body. Go figure, because I've been through all of this narcissistic abuse. And I'm like, these ethics and all these. So I was like, let's life coach. So a lot of the couples that I saw, I've seen couples that were doing well in marriage. I saw them for marriage counseling, but then I've seen couples within that realm that came to me for couples therapy. And I could see, actually, with this particular couple that I'm thinking about, the narcissistic tendencies from the first session.
Wow.
But they weren't putting my client in physical danger. This person wasn't a physical danger. And they weren't living together at the time. And I could see the narcissistic tendencies coming, and I encouraged, and oftentimes you kind of have to. She wanted him to do something, and I said, well, why don't you just humble her and prove her wrong that these things will not work? And he was like, I will, So that was what motivated him to do some of the things that she wanted. I'm like, just prove it. Like, call all these people and prove that you cannot get a job the way that she has suggested it,
Right.
And so I've done kind of the reverse psychology on them. I'm sure they knew exactly what was going on. But it's like, yeah, sometimes you have to speak in a different way. But since he wasn't a physical threat, by the third session, she said, she was like, I just think I want to break up with him and this and that. And so I asked if I could see her alone, because
Okay.
I wanted to tell her what I suspected, and I did.
Right.
And I said that I would not see them as a couple again, because once I've really determined that he was narcissistic and he was abusive, I don't support them being in a relationship with one another, as he has no desire to change. Be very different if he came to me like other clients have one-on-one saying, I know I'm narcissistic. I want to change this.
How
There's none of
how
that.
often is that? I at least with the narcissist that, or the assumed narcissist, because obviously we don't actually know if any of our bad pasts are narcissists, definitionally. But I mean, how often I feel like that's a rare thing for like a narcissist to come to you saying, hey, I know I'm narcissist and I want to change. Like, how do I change? Because like none of them that I know even think that they have a problem. They live in this grand illusion and everybody else is the problem.
Right.
It hasn't been, I will say it hasn't been very prevalent until, weirdly, in my life right now, I currently see 2 people who have come to me and said that. And or being like, I know that I have these traits, and I know, I have one that's even like, I'm probably a sociopath. Like,
How?
and it hasn't been prevalent that I've seen this before now. So I think as this is becoming more widespread, there are some people who are considering, since there's more self-aware narcissists than there ever have been online.
Yeah.
There's some men and women now that are willing to say,
Yeah.
Okay.
So how in the world do you help them? How I mean, I guess I acknowledging it is like a huge step forward, but like how do they control that beast
Do they
inside of
actually
them?
change? Right.
It's actually kind of refreshing sometimes when because they are self-aware and they're like, I see these traits in myself. It's refreshing sometimes to see the honesty. Like I'm upset that I got
Yeah.
caught. I'm like, okay, now we have something to go off of. I'm upset because I got
Yeah.
caught.
Yeah.
Would you
That
do it
must
if
be
you hadn't got
refreshing.
caught?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
So it's and there's I guess I lean into what's admirable about it, because it must be really hard if you don't feel true and genuine empathy to have to study someone to notice what you should be doing to show empathy to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has to be difficult. There's something admirable
Right.
about that to me.
Right. Like they have to study their body language, tone of voice,
Work extra hard.
what they're saying and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
I never thought about it that way.
Like you have to know this, and even to manipulate, and even to manipulate a new person, you have to learn all the new intricacies and new things that make them tick to manipulate them.
Right. You do. Yep.
So I've kind of leaned into why not manipulate for good?
Yeah.
Or if this thing that you were doing were suddenly broadcast and the whole world were watching you, would you be proud of that thing that you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because narcissists do have shame.
Yeah.
Do they?
Do they?
They have guilt. They don't have guilt, but they do have
Well,
shame.
because I feel like
Yeah.
shame
That makes sense.
shame I feel like hurts in the like reputation ego department, whereas guilt might
Yeah.
be
Shame
like
is
more like a feel bad for the person. I feel bad that I did something to them, like maybe like I crossed a moral boundary. So maybe that's a difference between shame and guilt. I don't know.
right.
It's because if you don't know, then it doesn't hurt you because you don't know. So I don't feel guilty for doing what I'm doing. I feel ashamed now because now you found
Hmm.
out.
Right. Yeah.
It's not going to stop me from wanting to do what I'm doing. I just didn't want to get caught doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense. I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the people that are involved in these relationships that have no control over these relationships. They are completely innocent, and in a lot of these cases, that's the kids, right? So you have these varying degrees of abusive relationships, and then you have the kids involved, and it makes it so much harder because at least my perspective, which is all I have, it's just my perspective, is that, to a survivor, I call it, well, what I call them a victim first, and then a survivor, and then they go into healing. And okay. So, but to a survivor, the one thing that could be holding them in that relationship is in fact the children. Like, the wife or the girlfriend is willing to bear this abuse for the sake of the kids because she doesn't want her kids to go out without a father, or dad brings home the bacon and supports the family and all that stuff.
Or he's
and we kind of hit on this a little
to
bit.
separate her from them.
Yeah, or he's threatening to, hey, if you leave me, or if you do anything to suggest to anyone that there's an issue, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and that could have an effect on the children. Like, how do we navigate through those types of relationships? Like, how do we communicate to some of those victims and survivors, and like, this is not okay? But that's what I don't have. I don't have here's the steps you can take, or here are the things you need to do, or, X, Y, or Z. That's what I don't have for that.
So everything is a case-by-case basis and normally there's financial abuse going on. So, I mean, the first thing is what resources are available to them in their immediate circle. And sometimes it's like you need to build a support system first. And some people are like, I don't go to church, I'm not in a church community. Well, maybe you do now.
Yeah.
Maybe now you do. And maybe that seems like, for lack of better words, excuse my French, ass backwards way of doing it. But it's like, you need, if it's for your kids you need to build a community around you so that you can have means of finances and people that are willing to help you. The first step is I need to find someone who I can trust and who I can tell that I need help and who's not going to run back and tell them. So it needs to be a safety plan that's put in place. And then also assessing a level of risk. Does this person
Right.
physically harm me?
Yes. Oh,
Because
that's so
that adds
scary.
another element to it. And that makes it way more difficult when there's physical
Yeah.
harm involved.
I mean, I'm even going as far as to say that, okay, she gets out, she manages to get out, and through whatever scenario it was that she got out, whether it's calling the police or getting out some other means, okay, she's out, we're good, she's good, kids are good, abuser's no longer in the picture, but there's a co-parenting relationship that has to continue on. He doesn't ever change, right? So he's continuing to blast text messages, all that stuff to the survivor, and she's got to read through a mountain of abuse before she even gets to anything about the kids. But then that once the kids are with him, he is just conditioning them, because his control stuff, nothing's changed in him other than he's not in the picture anymore, but like he's still trying to control the kids. He's always putting down the mother, all that stuff. And there's really not, from a legal perspective that we have found, I talked to an attorney a couple weeks ago about this, there's not a whole lot of legal stuff you can do about that. And I know there's probably not even an answer to this, but it's like, in my back of my head, I'm like, I am making it my life mission to figure out how to make that crap stop. That just pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like, you're involving an innocent kid, and this is your kid that you're involving in this because you hate his mother. You feel like you have to bring him and try to get him against against her. That's
I almost
so childish.
I almost feel like the mother or whoever, like the main survivor, finally gets some kind of relief by separating, but then has to live with some amount of guilt that now the kids are the main target, because that's how they're gonna, the attacker, or the narcissist is gonna continue to hurt you, doesn't really care about the kids and how it's hurting them. So they're the main target now. They're now getting more hurt than they ever were when it was just, mom buffeting all of that from dad.
Right.
So it's like, even more reason for mom not to want to leave,
Right. I mean, with narcissists, everyone is a pawn, and it's all about them getting what they want. And so the kids do in turn get hurt through that triangulation, because it's like, you go tell your mother I said blah blah blah, and then they have to go tell their mother that dad said blah blah blah, and then the mom will try to call. I mean, it could, of course, these genders could be switched, but the other parent calls, and they have to, because this is the only means of communicating, and then the narcissist does not pick up and forces the child, like the mom, to communicate through the child. And so it's a sticky situation to where you have to document everything, and it's so annoying, and you have to involve the courts, and you have to create a parenting plan, and you have to do these things and put them in writing and prove that someone's violating it. It's a whole process. And there should be,
Yes.
I do help people screen these. I literally have clients that bring text messages, send me the screenshots beforehand. I read them. We get into a session, and I'm like, when you see this, say this. You do this, say this. This means this. Anytime you see this verbiage, this means this. And it's just simply the narcissist trying to derail a conversation or figure out information about them. So I have to go through all those things and explain, this tactic is being used here. This is this. And I mean, you could have a call system of people calling about these things, and it would never go dry.
Yeah. What
what
happens if, what happens then if now it's the child is the main victim, whether mom was a victim or not, let's just sort of change the scenario to where the parent is the narcissist. Regardless if there's another parent involved in the home or not, this child is the main focus of this abuse. And let's just say they're the main focus, period. Like, they're not even trying to get to another parent. It's just mom is very narcissistic or dad is very narcissistic. And I literally can do nothing right, no matter what I do, like every little cough is disrespectful, those kinds of things. And like the child has, what is the child?
They
They
can't
can't
leave.
leave. They're threatened that if they tell their friends or if they tell grandma or if they tell even their other parents, what's going on. And it's like I feel like the narcissist is able to build this umbrella of protection by just making everybody afraid of them, that the child is just, what do you do for those kids? What can we do?
And this is probably something that I shouldn't admit, but when I was a high school teacher, I brought in a lot of psychology into my classroom, and I had them, take the 16 personalities, which is a form of the Myers-Briggs test, and I had them prove why certain characters were certain things, and we talked about these dynamics in class and characters that had narcissistic traits. I brought it into the classroom because I could see it in their
Yeah.
parents in conferences, and I could see through the emails. I'm like, oh gosh, this kid's being
Yeah.
smothered. And it's things like this. It's creating podcasts. And maybe we could create a podcast just for youth, like that's targeted and marketed towards them. But you have kids. Okay, so my students would find at the same time the platform that I had on social media. It would just happen. I guess it's close proximity of phones. I don't know how algorithms work. I'd pop up on there and they'd be like, I just started watching your stuff and I feel like my mom's like this. I would talk to them about it. Never once did a kid go report back and say, Miss Clifton said you're a
Right.
narcissist. No, they didn't. They just took the help. They do want the help. But I guess people like us are the people that are going to have to get the resources to
Yeah.
them. There's
Yeah.
nothing that you can do to help the kid in that family system because you're going to have to prove that abuse is
Right.
happening. And 9 times out of 10, if it's not physical abuse
Yeah, you can't prove it.
Yeah.
or neglect,
Right.
you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
So it sounds
So-
like, I'm sorry, John, just one last thought I had on that note. Man, it sounds like,
It's fine. I'm used to being cut off all the time.
I mean, you are surrounded by 3
It's all
women. I
good.
mean, you
Especially by women. We just don't want you to talk.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
You choose your battles, John. I mean, you know what you're getting into here. You started a podcast with your
Shutting
2
up
sisters.
now.
Mhm.
No, so I guess it's just really a comment. I mean, it just really sounds like you're right. I mean, things like what we're doing, podcasts, our little shorts and things on all these social media platforms. It sounds like the more education the general public can even have, the better. Because you just don't know where the victims always are because of all of the secrecy around it, and getting them all to a therapist, especially when it is a child and the parent does not want to bring them to a therapist, or will say, yes, I'll bring you to a therapist, but I'm going to sit in the room and listen to everything that you're saying. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to work. So yeah, I guess like what you did with your classroom, I mean, that was genius. Giving those kids
Risky, though.
yeah, but genius, giving them a leg up in psychological behavior that they can overcome just with the power of knowledge, or at least mitigate.
Yeah, I think, speaking about it in a general way and applying it to characters was the safe way around it. And whatever conclusions they drew about their household after that were no fault of
Yeah.
mine. So, in fact, I'd do it again every
Yeah.
time.
Makes sense. I kind of want to step back a little bit, thinking about the person who might be watching this. It could be a variety of different types of people that watch this podcast, watch this specific episode. But the next line of questions is more for the person who knows something's wrong, just doesn't know what, just knows something is off, something is wrong. This person has not identified anything of what we've talked about these narcissistic traits or anything like that. So I'm curious, kind of back to the basics, like what are some very basic things somebody who knows something's wrong but just can't put their hand, like they can't put their finger on it. What are some of the things that you would suggest to them or say, hey, look for X, Y, and Z, just simple things, we don't need to get too deep into the psychology of it, but just little things to kind of watch out for, warning signs, things like that.
The first thing I would say is if you know something is off and you know something is wrong, look no further.
Follow your gut, essentially.
Right. Essentially lean into that intuition, because every time I've not listened to it, my intuition was always right. In fact, whatever was going on was far worse than what I could even think about putting my finger on. And if it's in early stages of a relationship and not further down the line, then why is it worth becoming an investigator when you already feel something is off? Why skip the intuitive part, and why not cut your losses now?
Yeah.
So that way you don't have to figure out and waste your time saying, this feels off. Why can't it just feel good and whatever normal is from the beginning?
But he's so cute and he plays the guitar and
he is a shiny ad and you're yes, and you missed everything that was good for you because you paid attention to all of this stuff over here that sounded good on paper.
Yeah.
Every single time I found myself in this situation, that is exactly what happened. I ignored pings of intuition.
Yeah. Those little red flags that pop up in the back of your head. It's like, don't ignore that stuff.
Yeah, it's like those little tiny red flags is kind of what I was trying to get to. Once we've gotten past, okay, your gut typically is telling you the right thing, right? 9 times out of 10, your gut is going to be right in some way, shape, or form. And then, like, if you're in these relationships, and let's just say, for an example, you're at the airport and you go to check in on the little kiosk thing, and you happen to walk away from your man, and you didn't tell him where you were going, and he yells at you for the first time in the relationship, and you don't get out. That's probably a warning sign.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So is this
that
a
happened
personal
to
story
me.
that you have just outed?
She did
That 100%.
she did tell on herself.
Yeah, that 100% happened to
in
me.
a prior episode, but yes, he's just rubbing it in a little bit.
Yeah, I told that story in a prior episode. Yeah, for sure. That was definitely my first red flag, and I should have listened to my intuition then, but instead I decided to marry him. So
Why
that
not?
was good.
At what point in the relationship did you see that?
That was actually embarrassingly early in the relationship. I want to say we were dating for only a few months and everything was sunshine and rainbows. And then all of a sudden I walked away from him and he switched on me. Like I hadn't seen him like that before. And he was really upset that I walked away from him and didn't tell him where I was going. And it's not like I was walking around the airport. I walked maybe 10, 15 feet away from him in an empty area where you check in. There was maybe 3 other people there. He could clearly see where I was, but he was very upset that I walked away from him. And I think it's because he wanted control.
You didn't
he
give
wanted
him
me
permission
to tell
to
him,
walk
if you're going to
away.
walk away from him. Yeah,
Ricky
he didn't
didn't
give
give
me
you
permission to walk away. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And he switched on me. And just as fast as he switched to this person that I didn't know, after I apologized, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He seemed so upset that I was profusely apologizing. I'm like, I am so sorry. I will never do that again. How dumb. There's no reason I should have to explain myself to just walk 10 feet away from somebody, But I totally went into a fawn response, immediately. That's my go-to is either freeze or fawn. And I fall into the fawn response. Even to this day, I'm still working through this stuff. And it's been I haven't been in a relationship in 6 years now. And I am still I still will go right into that so easily, even with all of the education and stuff that I have. I just recently did it. So It's crazy. Do you see the fawn response often in your work?
Yes. And often a fawn response with certain people will keep you safer longer.
Mhm.
While considered an unhealthy coping mechanism, people fawn because it makes the narcissist probably the least reactive.
Right.
Let's
Mhm.
define fawn real quick.
Yeah, why don't you tell them what fawn was for you in that scenario?
In that scenario, that was me. So a fawn response is when you immediately tell the person basically whatever they want to hear. You are trying to de-escalate the situation as fast as possible, and you're doing this to protect yourself, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. And in that moment, I immediately went into profusely apologizing and hugging him and saying, "It's okay. Everything's okay. I'm right here. I didn't go far," over explaining things. I did that so much. So that's what a fawn response was for me. So you basically tell them whatever you think they want to hear
Mhm.
so that they de-escalate.
Whatever you think feels good to them, you say. So
Right,
you'll
exactly.
admit that you're wrong. You'll admit that you killed their dog if
Admit
it's
anything.
gonna get them to soften up toward you. Yeah.
Right.
Did that one a
Yeah,
lot.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I'm definitely a fan of the fawn response. I wish I could just not do it. Just
I've
so easily.
I've told clients to fawn as a means to keep the peace longer, to buy them time to plan to get out, to make their environment a safer environment. Because
Right.
I am not a fawn response person. I am a person.
Yeah.
So in your relationships, it was just a
I
lot of fists fighting or fist flying with words.
Well, I would just be like, "Oh, is that what we're doing? We're screaming across the airport. Is that what we're doing now?" Like I'm
Oh
that.
man, I wish I would have said that. That would have been
Let's
awesome.
scream together. Okay?
Yeah.
Like and I don't get embarrassed. And so I think a lot of times and I'll tell people this and it's not to victim blame, but that response, I think people who are going to get physical, if they're going to, are going to get physical a lot quicker with a person like me.
They need to straighten you out.
Right. Get in line. You're like the wild horse that I need to break.
Yeah. Which is a challenge to a guy. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. So somebody like, a guy might take that as a challenge
with
like,
a trophy
okay,
at the
I'll
end.
break her. Yeah, exactly. A challenge with the trophy at the end. I'll break her.
Right.
She'll see. I'll get her.
Right. And it was not the smartest or best decision for me to have made many of times in these relationships.
But you actually, this is, I guess I wasn't surprised because how you said it made so much sense. But like, you can actually use the fawn response as a means to de-escalate so that you have time. Like, he's not so far up your rear end, you're just fawning, so he just calms down. But that gives you time to make a plan. That
Yes.
makes so much sense.
To become less interesting and to become somebody who is compliant so that they believe that this person is now submissive and is on their side and they're less suspecting.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I was going to go a different direction with that, but
Seems good enough.
no, I won't go that. No, I won't go that route. I was going to go, well, that some guys that, that might actually amp them up. Like, I don't want you to tell me what I want to hear. I want to hear, so at least
Crazy
I'm trying to
men.
think, I'm trying to put myself in a narcissistic.
And see, and I would go back with that and be like, well, what is it that you would want me to say to make you feel better? Because please, I'll say it, anything.
Yeah.
And
I'll
then,
be honest, I tried every single one of those lines and I was a fawn and that it still didn't work for me. I mean, it worked for me for many years, but at the point where it was like at its height, the worst, it was like there was no pleasing this guy, no pleasing him at all. So, but
do you see more narcissism in a specific age demographic?
good question.
You don't diagnose anybody under the age of 18 with narcissistic personality disorder because all children are baby narcissists. Mine,
Sure.
mine.
Right.
Me. Yes.
But have you found, like, in your relationships or in some of your clients' relationships, like, the men that are narcissists are between the ages of, 20 and 32, or is it kind of just all over the board?
I think it's all over the board. It's not really specific to, I mean, of course, it's more specific to men. I mean, more men are more prevalently diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, whereas, more women are more likely to be diagnosed with borderline. It's emotional. I think that a lot of the men who are diagnosed with it, just a lot of people that are diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder anyway, you're going to find the diagnoses within the military and things like that because they're getting psych evals. And then you're going to find them in prison. But you're getting these statistics and this data from people that are having to be tested for these personality disorders because they're having psych eval. So you're seeing it there, but nobody's willingly going to therapy like you were suspecting. I was like, oh, this is kind of weird that I do have two people willing to come to me and say they're narcissistic right now. But most narcissists don't say, I'm a narcissist.
Right, exactly.
Mm.
I
No
was
one
wondering
wants
where
that
they
slap on.
Yeah, I was wondering where they got all the statistics of narcissistic personality disorder. I'm like, now wait a minute, how are they even getting these people to come in? But it makes perfect sense that they're getting them from military and jail and prison and wherever they are forced to have a psych eval. That makes sense. That's
Right. And
wild.
you're going to see a lot of cluster B personality disorders in prison and in the jail system because these are the personality disorders with impulsive behavior and
Right.
chronic feelings of emptiness. And, we're talking about guilt and shame and those nuances, and they don't feel it.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you bring somebody back? You have your clients you're talking to, and they're at various stages of this. Let's, somebody who has gotten out and is completely out, they're on the healing journey. And yes, I understand it could be case by case, but broadly speaking, how does somebody heal or come back from an abusive relationship? Like, how do they get back to, the core of who they are? How do they find their identity again? Like, how do they
Maybe unbury.
they've been in these relationships for sometimes years, and they finally get unburied from them. Like, how do we give them direction?
So I think with any identity thing with my clients, I'm like a good place to start because a lot of them come to you in really pessimistic moods and, they're down low, lowest they've ever been. It's hard for them to even have a positive thought, but they have plenty of negative ones. And so it's like, what you don't like. So let's write that down. And then if we see what we don't like, then we can see what's the opposite of that or at least get a little bit closer to it on the paint swatch, over here to this deeper thing of like, here's what I do like. And these things I can find what I do like by seeing what I really don't want more of. So if I don't want more of this, then I'll do this instead. And it is a journey because it's almost like you come out of this a different person. And I think this is it's said in a lot of biblical settings, but it's like, and you guys can help me with this, but it's like you were this one piece of art before and then you're crushed and broken and then you're putting back together and creating this whole new, unique and more valuable piece of art at the end of it. And so you get to rebuild this new human that you want to be after it by kind of figuring out what you don't want anymore. Because it's pretty crystal clear.
What you don't want.
What you
when
don't
you get out
want,
of that.
Yeah.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Totally see that.
What about so I'm sure a bunch of your clients have had like these transformations. What are some of the most powerful ones or some of the most favorite or meaningful transformations to you?
The most meaningful transformations for me are the ones where the people are really excited about them. It can be a small transformation that I see. I'm like, this isn't really that big, but they're so excited and they feel like it's very huge. And so then in turn, I'm like, this is very huge.
Yes.
So those are, but the thing that I like to see is when I am helping somebody who lives with a narcissist and they have children, And they're like, I just don't know how I'm ever going to get out of this. Like we talked about earlier. And then we come up with this plan, this safety plan, and these ways to get money. And they're seeing me behind the scenes in these Kroger parking lots. And we're making these meetings work at 2 a.m. when their person's on night shift and all this crazy stuff. When they finally come up with the money, they come up with the plan, they execute the plan, and they send me the picture of the house keys.
Yes.
And
Yes. That's so awesome.
it's like a universal experience. And I don't tell any of them to do that. And they're like, these are the keys to my new house. Like, and then I
love
get
that.
to see them
I got
be with new people
goosebumps.
who are nice. Yes. And then they have babies with other people. Like I've had clients that
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So that's a perfect segue into the next thought I had was like, how do you, and there's multiple ways to define this, but how would you define a healthy relationship? Like these people go through it, they start getting in a relationship, like define what a healthy relationship looks like for you.
Actually went over this question with my friend before we even went on this podcast because I looked at that question. And she was like, peace. And it is peace, but sometimes people think peace is boring. And so a healthy relationship shouldn't have these added things that someone else is bringing to the relationship, because life is already hard as it is. And people are like, relationships are hard. Yeah, it's already hard to get two people who have their own life struggles and the losses of people and all of these things going on in their life, and, you know, job loss and friendships and having a baby and all the things that are regular life things that are difficult. That's why relationships are hard, because two people are deciding to do it together. And those are the kinds of struggles you should be having, not added stress to a relationship that is created by somebody screaming at you because you walked across, you walked within sight in the airport. Like that's irrational behavior. And a real relationship that is healthy, you're not being controlled. So it can feel calm and it can feel boring. So you're having to work at creating. Yes. Calm and boring is good. It's not a romance novel. It's not 50 Shades of Grey. It's not any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a healthy relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a healthy relationship.
And it was boring.
And it got to a point where it was boring, but oh my gosh, but he was such a good guy on paper.
He was a good guy, period. He would have taken such good care of her.
Are we talking about the
Russian?
Yes, we're talking about the Russian.
I love
the Russian. You're even in on the code names.
Well, he was Russian, but he was amazing. He was amazing, but it was a little too boring for staff. But man, we still kick her to this day.
I know.
What was so boring about it?
He wasn't mean.
It was just no, I mean, like, gosh, I'm sorry, but I just like a little bit of an edge in my men, which is why I'm choosing to stay. I've chosen to stay single for so long. I don't trust my picker. Like, I have to, like, the next time I decide to start dating someone, if I do, I have to run them by my siblings to make sure I'm not, like, overlooking anything. Like, they will be interviewing this person, you know? But yeah, the relationship was so peaceful. He was so kind to me. It was predictable. Like, we got into our routine. It was predictable. And then I got bored because whatever, I guess there was a drama and I was young and dumb and
really dumb.
Yeah.
You have regrets about leaving the Russian?
No, I don't really have regrets because I think that there was just something missing there from us. I'm not really sure what it was. So I don't really have any regrets. I don't think like he's the one that got away or anything like that.
We do.
But yeah, my siblings do, but like I don't have regrets about it. It was just a dumb thing that I did. Yeah. So I just don't do relationships now.
Yeah, that's the one that got away, and
no,
the one that Steph put off.
Another like, yeah, and he's on lockdown now. A woman locked that down
boring,
pretty darn quick. Yeah, so that was good. But no, I think. Listen, I can sit here and just pick your brain all all night long with questions and comments. And I didn't even get to some of my debateful stuff here, but that's fine. We can have you on again. But I would just want to close with giving you the final word. So if somebody's listening and they're just so lost right now, can you just give them a little piece of advice, and then, tell us how people find you. Tell us, how, if they want to get in contact with you, or they're interested in maybe talking to you or anything like that. Just give the viewers and listeners kind of an idea of where they can go to do that.
I think if you're feeling lost right now, the first thing that you should do is find someone that you can talk to about it. Because I think the whole realm of these relationships it's really, the foundation of it is isolation and hiding things, hiding the relationship like an addict. And you're not going to get out of this addiction, and you're not going to find your way to yourself alone. Sometimes you need someone to hold your hand. And also, telling somebody about your feelings and the feeling lost makes it a reality, and voicing it aloud. And I think it comes with accepting that you feel lost, and willing to put your trust in someone else again, and trusting them that they won't be abusive, and they won't be narcissistic, and they will help you, and they will listen to you. And so tell somebody, and build a support system around you, because you're going to need one. And then for finding me, it's redhighheels.com, HEALS, and it's Miss Red High Heels, or Red High Heels with HEALS. I love puns on every platform
Yes.
On Instagram, on TikTok. It's the
we
same
we can
thing.
link it too.
So
yeah, we'll link it. We'll link it in the
Please.
notes in the notes below when we post this. But Karlie, I want to thank you for coming on the Fortified podcast. Congratulations, you're officially the first finished interviewed guest on the Fortified podcast. So
I'm very honored. Thank you for having me.
So thank you for that, and we look forward to talking with you again. And for those of you who are listening, if you want to get in touch with Karlie, go ahead and hit her up she's mainly on TikTok, but she got her website, and we'll link that down below. But for now, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for being here. We will see you on the next one.
Bye.